All right. First of all, great news about the grant proposal from NSF late last night, so I think I've notified everybody who wasn't listed as a PI on the grants. If you have people on your campuses that are participating but aren't connected yet, then please, please let them know. And we have some things we need to do. They, quite honestly, they seem a lot less than we encountered last time. So that's pleasant. I'm going to share some things on my screen.
We have 0.7.
Hi all, it's Rebecca. I'm having a hard time with sound. People keep coming in and out. I'm wondering if video off, it might help.
Right. All right, so let's all turn our videos off. I also regret that we're not able to do any virtual champagne toasting here, but maybe we'll figure something out so that when we get the notice of award, we can actually do something about that. So the things I'm sharing are, the first one is they want an abstract, which includes a non-technical description for the general public, for an educated general public, and also to notify it sounds like the politicians in Washington, so that's good. Then a technical description. They said you could use part of your project summary, but we go way over the word count if we include all of this. So I'm going to go through and trim this, and also create a non-technical description, and share and point back to this document by next Wednesday. So we'll get people's feedback and input on that. And my goal is to create a document that's 400 words long, because I'm guessing that suggestions people make will add words. And we're supposed to be between 400 and 600 words. So I should have that ready by next Wednesday. Second document is responses to the comments from reviewers. There were some specific comments that we can address, but the general, I think one of the documents we received was called initial negotiation or something like that. And that one had it had some things to do. One was the IRB request. And so I think we're all aware about that. Mike Pickard actually sent something around that I encourage people to look at and use and see if that helps. But we've got some chunks of stuff there that you may find helpful. Go ahead.
This is Rebecca. A question. So we did the IRB for the first proposal. Since this is just really a continuation, and we're not suggesting anything different really. Can we just get an extension on the current IRB that we've got?
That makes sense to me. What I would say is take the documents you submitted for the first IRB approval, update them to change the dates, the number of the projects. NSF insists on having a letter from your IRB person on your campus that includes the project number and title for this project on that letter. So and the current date. So I would say go ahead and just update the things you submitted last time to reflect any changes, and go ahead and submit that. And let's get those in early next week.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yes, Paul, this is Julia. I'm working on it here at Oswego because, of course, mine is from scratch. And we're on break next week, so I'm not sure how quick they will be to respond.
All right. Well, I know we'll all go as quickly as we can. And the way I read the letter from them, it sounds like they really need to have the abstract entitled by March 24th. The IRB approval as soon as possible, and then they don't say when they need to have the response to comments from reviewers and staff, but I would like to get that. I would like to get the response from the reviewers and staff and the title and abstract to them before March 24th. And I'm under a bit of a time crunch here because I'm going to be on March 22nd. I'm going to be leaving to give seminars on the 23rd and the 24th, and I'll be tied up on full-time on campuses those days. So for me, I really want to have this ready to go by next Friday, if that's possible.
Paul, this is
Yes.
Colette.
Yes, Colette.
We have spring break next week. And yeah, so just before we submitted this grant, I talked to my IRB people, and they said that my IRB approval was good for 5 years. So what? Because they're not going to be able to help me next week because they're not going to be here. So what do you think I have to do for mine just to have it say that it's good for 5 years? If it says it's good for 5 years, it still isn't good enough for NSF because it has to have the new grant number on it?
That's my understanding. So the letter of the law says it has to have the new approved grant number on it. So if if they're gone for, I mean, we're on spring break next week too, but I would say have all the stuff in their office, and then contact them the following Monday. So if we don't, my feeling is if we can't put in all the IRB approvals by the 24th, it's still urgent, but it's not as urgent as getting these other documents in their hands. That's what they really need.
Look, considering the structure of what is being proposed, I think if what you have by the 23rd or the 24th is into the NSF, formal approvals from Purdue and RIT and as many others as possible, and an email from the PI at the remaining ones giving the status of getting that, I suspect we'll have some time to fill in the rest.
That's a very good suggestion, Herbert. And I don't anticipate, as Rebecca pointed out, this is really, I don't think, any different from the previous proposal. And so I don't anticipate any hesitations at RIT. We were given exempt status last time. It's Anya, as I recall, the people at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo were a little more stringent than the other campuses. But you've got the approval from them. And so, move forward with it there too.
So do we need to work on the approval now? Or did we decide we don't need everybody's?
No,
so
I think what I'm saying, we will need it. We'll need it as fast as humanly possible. But if it's not possible, I think an email from the PI explaining the situation, and an estimate of when that one would be available.
Right.
Okay,
would probably satisfy them. So simply saying to them, well, our IRB is not available in this particular time window because this happens to be the scheduled spring break or whatever. Having the email from the local PI saying that should get the NSF to say, all right.
Okay.
Now,
But Anya, Debbie Hart emailed us like as recently as last week and told us the things that we needed to do. Like
and there's some issues there. Like I was just looking at that, and I think I'm just going to go back and say the only change we'll make is the new the survey, and leave it for now. We were trying to do focus group, and I think it just gets a little bit kind of iffy on that. So I will try to get that straightened out with them.
You need to give the NSF a clear picture of what's going on and a sense that that this will be settled by a date certain. And I think they would get very, very upset if there weren't a formal IRB approval for RIT and for Purdue.
So I think what we'll do is we'll just get extension for the IRB with just new PPI survey in there. I think that we can do fairly quickly. But then if we plan on doing things like student interviews and things like that, we need to like think it through and work it out, because they were like very picky. Well, if you record it, do you transcribe, or where do you store them and all that? So there's some questions there.
Okay.
Yeah, good for them.
Okay. Right. All right. Now, if we look at, there's a question here about the evaluation and assessment plan. And it's interesting because some of the reviewers said they really like the evaluation and assessment plan, but there's a question about quantitative metrics. So I will talk. Trevor, unfortunately, doesn't seem to be able to get into our Blue Jeans room here for some reason. Maybe he'll be able to catch up to us at some point. But I will talk with him about this. And this is also interesting to me because a great deal of our assessment is not quantitative. It's qualitative. It's interview based. So anyway, I'll get some input from Trevor on that. The student demographics, I think, is something we can do very easily. And so if you look at the table here, and Ursinus is ahead of the game. Well done, Rebecca. So let's go through and
right now, so
right, good.
Lots of time.
So please get those data filled in by next Friday. And I know that Bob Stewart is kind of wrapping up his role in the project. So I'll contact him directly by email and ask him for this information because we need to have this, and we can clearly get this at RI. I mean, we can get this everywhere. So there was.
They literally just want us to count the students who are in our class.
Demographics, I think so.
Okay, we can do that.
Right, and at this point, I don't think we need to split it out for students that were in this class or that class. Hey, Trevor, thanks for joining us. Trevor, I'm not hearing you. I'm seeing your lips move. And I'm also going to ask you to turn off your video camera. We seem to be having some bandwidth problems. So if you could kill the camera and activate the microphone. Okay, I think go ahead and speak now, Trevor. I think I can hear you. Hi, Nancy.
Hi, can you see me?
I can see you, but we're actually asking people to turn off their video feed to increase the bandwidth. There's a little bandwidth problem on a couple campuses.
Yeah, trying to figure that out. Did that do it?
That did it. Thanks very much. All right, so Trevor and Nancy, we're just going through here, looking at how we need to respond to to Mary Carpenter, the grant program officer. And the first thing is
I've got to turn his sound up.
The first issue is about the IRB. So if you could start that moving forward at Purdue as quickly as possible, that'd be great. We feel like if we have formal approvals from RIT and Purdue, and then some form of an update, maybe an approval from each other other campuses by March 24th, that would be very good. Trevor, in terms of the evaluation and assessment plan, when is a good time for us to talk early next week? Actually, I think you said you're on spring break, right?
Yes, I'm on spring break. We're in North Carolina, so we're pretty flexible, Paul. Not Monday, but otherwise we're pretty flexible. So if you send me your calendar like you usually do,
okay, will do.
Because it'll probably be easier for you to find a spot that'll suit you. Right.
Okay, I will do that, Trevor, and we can talk about that. The demographics here, there are no demographics at Purdue since you didn't run, actually, you were evaluating but not running the course on your campus. So if everybody could get that stuff in. There's a question about inclusion of underrepresented minorities and minority serving institution campuses. Colette, is St. Mary's a Hispanic serving institution, or is Cal Poly?
Yeah, we're an HSI. We're something like 70% Hispanic.
If you could actually get the number.
Yeah, I'm writing for it now. I'm sure my institutional data department can get it to me within the afternoon.
Yeah, the Department of Education with St. Mary's as a minority serving institution. I found a list also, this is Julia, that says Cal Poly San Luis Obispo might also be a minority serving institution, but it's hard to tell. And on some lists, Oral Roberts is listed because I think they have Native American population, but that one's also hard to say if it actually is or not.
Perhaps what we should do, instead of trying to decide whether a campus has a designation, if we could provide demographics for campuses that do have significant, underrepresented minority populations, that'd be great. In terms of, I was trying to think of what we could do on like in the RIT campus. I mean, the students who take this course are the students enrolled in the major. Ideas of how we could respond to that idea on campuses that are not minority serving institutions.
So I'm additionally teaching in a non-majors course this semester, and I actually have a quarter Hispanic students in my section, and also a black student, and it's 3/4 female.
Okay.
Just by random chance.
We can probably say something like that. And it's also interesting because you're doing, one of the reviewers said, well, how would this run on a campus that doesn't have funding? And we can say, well, that's happening right now because you're doing it. Okay?
If that's true. So the department is supporting it.
Right. All right. So particularly if we could get the data from Cal Poly and ORU and St. Mary's about minority representation on those campuses, and those numbers hopefully will be reflected in the table, that would be great.
Paul? So
Yes.
I guess I have really huge doubts that we're considered minority serving institution. We have a lot of campuses within our system that are, but ours I don't believe is, and I'll look at the designation. However, I wonder for addressing it, there's within our CSU system, there are campuses that are like minority serving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I think maybe if we wanted a plan, hello? I hear their echo or something.
Yeah,
we could propose for dissemination. We have a annual kind of meeting of all campuses related to biotechnology. We could propose to kind of do a workshop and sort of disseminate and try to recruit institutions within the system to kind of pursue this. So it would kind of link to our dissemination propagation as well, to say that, you know, this is one campus within the system and we have a venue for disseminating information and recruiting other campuses.
That sounds like a great idea. If you could go to that shared document, then just enter that information.
So what I'll do is I'll look on the designations and see how many campuses within our 23 campus system are, and sort of try to put a paragraph kind of along what I've said. Oh, wow. Actually, a lot of our campuses are.
All right, great.
Paul?
Yes, Trevor.
Sorry to interrupt. I was just wondering whether you would like me to briefly talk to the evaluation assessment plan, just for everybody's information. Or we are going to talk in greater detail, but are you coming back to that item?
Well, I wasn't planning on it, but we can do that. Could you give us maybe 5 minutes on it? I mean, we really don't have 15 or 20 minutes for this.
5 minutes is fine, but when is it convenient? Now?
Let's do it right now. Yeah.
Okay, so just a few comments. First of all, I'm really delighted that the panel likes our evaluation plan, and yes, no problem to bring in a quantitative element. The reason why I didn't originally have the quantitative element in is that we need to do qualitative data analysis first to identify the research abilities that are key to the learning in that module. And so thanks to everyone, we now have a really good idea of these abilities, and we're preparing 2 papers. The first one's nearly done on the process we used to identify those abilities, which could be generalizable to other cures. And then the second one is actually a taxonomy of the abilities. And so the scene is set now for us to develop assessments, and this is where the quantitative part will come. We had to identify the abilities first so that we would know in the quantitative instruments what we were actually going to measure. So there has to be alignment. And so the other thought I had was, and I mentioned this last year already, that would be good to have an assessment workshop, maybe this summer, since things are moving so fast, in which we all work together to develop assessments that focus specifically on each of the abilities that Stefan has now identified through his work that he's done. And I think that would be a really key step, because that would then give us the quantitative metrics. If we can develop an instrument, do a pre-post type of design, but develop an instrument which we can apply more widely across larger numbers of people, but that specifically focuses on the abilities we have now identified, then we'll get the quantitative data that the program director is seeking. So I always had in mind to do quantitative, but I had in mind that would be the next stage of a larger grant. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thanks very much, Trevor, and very helpful. So the summer workshop you mentioned, are you thinking? I don't see us all getting to the same place at the same time, but we could certainly do something online. What do people think of that, or should we try to cluster in certain areas or something, or how should we do
that? If I may add, I think this sort of thing doesn't work online. I think it's a key next stage, which the program director is basically saying, what about the quantitative design? They're very happy with our current research design, and I don't think we should mess with that. But the quantitative part is going to be easy for me to add. But we'll only get the metrics if everybody can work together to develop focused assessments on those abilities. We can do it the following year, but I would go as far as saying that this would be money well spent to get people together.
Right. All right. Well, I think that's something we all need to kind of chew on and figure out where it would fit, because a number of us are already planning to do a 1-week thing down at the Protein Data Bank, if we can get NSF support for it, for our students to go there. So it would be great to be
considering SBMB meeting for something like that be worth trying, right? To like meet up for an extra day before or after ASBMB or during ASBMB meeting and try to get as many participants as we can to that meeting.
I think we're going to have 3 or maybe 4 of us there.
I'm talking not this year, but like for the following year. So to do this workshop with Trevor, right? Like, would we think about doing it next spring for SBMB meeting?
That could work.
So you're
where we
suggesting
could get funding, right, for travel, which either from the grant or I don't remember how much we put in, or maybe from like other departments supporting travel to a scientific meeting, but we're able to tack on some time to do the workshop.
that's a very good suggestion. So let's keep that kind of in our minds as we look forward.
Can I just add one more thing? Trevor and Nancy, when you guys did the assessment workshop for us online, that was really helpful. I wonder if, we don't wait though all the way till following spring and still plan on having something like that, like some more training on this in the summer, like this coming summer.
Of course, I'm always happy to help, and I agree with you that we shouldn't wait for nearly a year just to start doing assessments. And that said, everyone, I understand everybody is already developing assessments, but I do think at some stage it would be of huge benefit to get everybody together in the same room, Paul. I think for the whole project, quite frankly, I really think it's important.
Agree. I completely agree, Trevor. And yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. We have to find a way to do that. We must do that. Yeah. All right. I'm going to keep moving down the response document. Thanks for your input there, Trevor. That was very helpful.
Sure. We'll talk in more detail, Paul. Yeah.
Yes, we will. Yeah. I'll send you a schedule as soon as this meeting's over.
Great.
Plans for maturation and expansion. Do you remember why we decided to go for the smaller grant rather than the larger development and implementation grant?
Yes. We didn't feel we had enough evidence. A lot of this is, have the assessment evidence. So, doing this intermediate stage will hopefully put us in the position of having a strong ability to present for the larger grant.
Right.
The other,
I also remember us talking. This is Rebecca. I also remember us talking about how we felt like we wanted to expand it beyond hydrolases and have those in place so that we could really go further dissemination of a more robust plan.
Right. Right. That's very helpful. I can certainly build on that. That won't be hard to write. As I recall in my conversations with Tom Higgins, he also said it's going to be much tougher to get funding at that level, and that's so we wanted to have a robust argument to make. I also think about the fact that our platform is much better now than it was 2 years ago, but it's still not stable enough that I would want to bring in people who are not intimately connected to us, to the project. All right. Well, I think that's enough to work with for right now on that document. So I'm gonna move on from that. Any other comments on that before we move on? All right. Okay, the next agenda item I had was the whole issue of PyMol and ProMol crashing on the virtual machine and of having difficulty with PyMol and ProMol on all the campuses. How are things going with that on your campuses as you're trying to use it? And so first question is, are people using PyMol and ProMol on your campuses with your students? How are you doing that? Second question is, what can we do about the virtual machine to make it stop crashing?
This is Rebecca. Nothing's changed since the last week when we spoke, since we've been on break. My students should be getting onto PyMol and ProMol this Wednesday. So hopefully we'll be able to do it.
Do your students have, I know that I tried to help one of your students install it with the educational version of PyMol and it didn't work. Do your students have a different version?
So they, some of them were able to get it up and running. We did figure out that we might have had an older link, and so that's what we're going to try this coming week.
All right, good, good. Other campuses?
I had 2 students who are like more research students, not in a class trying the PyMol ProMol. No success. We have computers in a computer lab that have PyMol installed, but we can't load ProMol plugin onto it because it's like has to go through IT, and I guess Ashley can't do it or what. And then the cyber stuff just keeps crashing on them. They've tried larger instances and that didn't help. So we kind of gave up on it. It's our end of the water.
So, so yeah, like Anya said, she has PyMol installed on sort of our, it's on computers in a public computer lab. And I don't have the admin access for that computer lab. So I can't personally install ProMol for her. I can just submit the request to the IT guys and they do it whenever they do it. I thought of this, Anya. I can on my research computers do anything I want. So I could make your students an account on one of my research computers where PyMol and ProMol and PyRX and everything are definitely working.
Oh.
I cannot duplicate this crashing that you guys are seeing on the virtual machine. And I don't know if I'm not attempting to do the right thing in ProMol to see the crash, but
I think it's probably we're screwing something up, yeah. So I think I can try to do the testing over the break. I've just been kind of busy now.
Yeah. So I need more.
Mm-hmm.
I need better information about what task were you doing when it crashed? And when you say it crashed, did you mean the computer froze? Did you mean that your instance was deleted? Did you mean ProMol just froze? Could you close ProMol? Could you close PyMol? Like, that's the level of detail that I need to actually debug this problem, because I cannot get it to crash for me so that I know why it's crashing.
Okay, so I think on spring break or like even during finals week, I can kind of carefully write down, save screenshots of like what's going on, and we can try that.
And that would be helpful from other people who are seeing this behavior on the virtual machine. Because like I said, I can't duplicate it to debug it.
Ashley, are you available on Wednesday at 1 p.m. your time, 4 p.m. my time?
So, in general, I have a lot of availability on Wednesday. However, I'm trying to schedule a meeting with somebody else, and we had kind of converged that it was going to be at noon-ish on Wednesday, and they haven't confirmed back to me when that meeting is going to be. So I've been trying to schedule this meeting with this other person for a while. So if I can get that confirmed and it's at 12, then I could maybe meet you at 1. But I need to get that confirmed for this particular Wednesday before I give you my Wednesday. But in general, I have a lot of availability on Wednesday.
All right, so let's hopefully connect there. Let me know if we can do that. Okay.
Okay.
Great. At this point, going to move on. Semester end progress reports. I think the semester's ended at Cal Poly. So Anya, how did things go? Did we lose Anya?
Oh, could you say the question again? I think I'm having trouble with something else.
Just the end of the semester. How did things wrap up for
Oh,
you this semester? Which things worked, which didn't?
so first of all, thanks to everybody for the advice on the substrate. We did get fresh stuff. We had interesting experience with trying, seeing yellow, getting excited and realizing in the absence of enzyme, you still get hydrolysis. So we're wrapping it up. I think, we will have to push back by a day. So our last experiment day will be next Wednesday.
All right. All right. And Mike, I think you've pretty well you've wrapped up at least one group at this point. Mike still here? Nope, he's not here anymore. We lost Mike. Sorry, Mike. How are things going at St. Mary's?
We did chromatography this week, and because everyone had I have 4 teams, and everyone was planning on taking advantage of the his tag. One table only has another option, and that's the maltose binding protein, but I decided normalize it. We would all do his tag. We all did talon, and every table got a different result. So 3 of the 4 proteins bound to talon and came off. The one that didn't bind to talon, they spent the afternoon looking for it, found it in their wash through, and then just did a quickie nickel column instead, which worked. But because they had spent the whole afternoon troubleshooting talon, they didn't get as far. 2 tables whose protein bound to talon and came off, found, and then de-imidazoled it on a Zeba column, found the protein in the Zeba eluate. One was still active, the other one was not. And then for the 4th permutation, they got protein on and off of talon, but then they lost it during the desalting, which I can only guess was undergraduate error, but I don't know.
All right.
We only did half of our preps, and so we have the other half we can go back to. When we come back from break, we have a couple of other substrates like paranitrodecanoate and paranitro, a couple other things, a sugar and another fatty acid chain.
Okay.
We're going to try those. But yeah, it was pretty chaotic because last year everything worked pretty much in lockstep, and everyone was, because they were all lipases last year. That was I was disappointed in that last year, but now this year I see there was something to be said for that. Yeah. So, but they're certainly getting the feel for how you never know how things are going to work if you haven't done it before.
Right. Okay. By the way, thanks for sending us the note on how to get FAD into a putative flavoprotein, where the students will take a shot at that after they come back from spring break.
I hope one of those alternatives works, because I know yet another 10 or 12 ways, but those are the ones that usually work.
All right. Well, we'll start there and see what happens. Mm-hmm. I did want to say something. Any other campus comments? Rebecca, you're running it this semester?
Yeah. We're like I said, we're on spring break right now, so okay. The computational stuff we're moving along. Had a little issue. I've been working with the biochemist who has been doing the wet stuff. They had some issues in the beginning with transformations, but I think all the students now have pellets frozen down, and they're going to start the nickel column this week.
Good.
This is Julia. We did the expression this week. I'm isolating the cells right now, and I'm going to freeze the pellets. And then we've got 2 weeks, and then we'll break open the cells and do nickel columns after spring break. So.
Great. Now, in terms of the expression and isolating the cells, how's that going time-wise for folks? The reason I'm asking the question is that Jeff did that here at RIT, but we have an incubator that I actually purchased with an NSF grant back in 1996, and I'll be doggone, but it doesn't really work that well anymore. It wasn't maintaining temperature, and it kept stopping once in a while. So we're going to get a new incubator, but they ended up spending a long afternoon and evening on that.
Yeah, I think students here at Ursinus have been putting in a couple weekends.
All right. Julia?
It's not good.
We're using the auto expression medium, which I think they're also doing at Ursinus, and I won't know until next week if we actually got protein, but the cells grew. So my incubator is probably even older than yours, but it is maintaining temperature.
Okay. Good.
This is Colette.
Let's call it.
I have the luxury of having a lecture for this group at 11 in the morning on the same day that we have lab from 2 to 6. And so when we're growing, I will start a culture. At the beginning of lecture, they will be reading cell densities. Sometime during lecture, we do the induction. And then sometime during the lab, we do the harvest and we do in silico stuff. So that has worked for us both times I've done it. And we've gotten a ton of protein both times.
All right.
And that's 8 different proteins. So
great. Well, this is something we need to keep a record of. And so please write out your experience in this process, especially because, I mean, the issues with this approach, the two biggest ones that seem consistently to pop up are the time it takes to do the expression of the proteins, and the second one is the pi-mole, pro-mole, crashing, bungling, not functioning thing. So those are things we need to get ironed out.
I've been putting up reflection forms and a field journal and my students' lab reports. I feel like they're just going into a black hole, though, when I put them on Google Docs. Because when I look at that list of folders, it's mind-boggling. So I imagine no one else looks. I mean, we look in them when it's a place where we want to put stuff. I can never find anything there because you can search in Google Docs and it'll bring up the document, but it won't tell you where it was.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure I like Google Docs.
Well, maybe what we should do, let's get this, get the REU supplement in, let's get the response to the NSF grant in, and then maybe we should take a session, one of our afternoon sessions, and actually look through this together. And thanks to, I think it was Rebecca that organized these for us, which is a dramatic improvement about where we were.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's take a look at these documents together, see where they are, and decide how we want to read these. The fact is that, I mean, I should be looking at these documents, and I haven't been. So, I mean, that's part of the project too. So, but thanks for getting that stuff in there, and we will look at this stuff. I did want to mention something. I talked to the people here on campus about a registered trademark and a copyright, and I just wanted to mention that I did add the Creative Commons license isn't assigned to any individual. It's just basically saying that this is the license. Actually, we talked about this last week, didn't we? I think we want to put everybody's name on the bottom of the modules, and anybody who changes something will add their name and the date where they made the changes. Is that what we agreed to?
I think so.
Yeah, and I had suggested that maybe it didn't even have to be on every module. It could just be like on the front BASIL page where all the links to the modules are, it could be there. But either way.
All right.
I think having it on every module is okay because people might pick and choose, right? Like just the computational or just like, you know, I could see using one of the or two of the modules in a completely different class, but adapting it to like real newbies as opposed to more experienced students. And so I wouldn't mind having like the history of the file at the very bottom of it, traceable for like modification.
I can go in and make those changes. All right. Okay. Well, we're at 2:51, which I think means our time is pretty much over. Any other concerns or things we should talk about in next week's agenda?
Paul, I have a comment, if I may.
Yes, Trevor, please.
I believe that our project should seriously think about going for a larger grant. I think they were effectively telling us that they thought we should be getting one already. And further to that, I don't agree with the other comment made that we haven't done enough in the educational evaluation part. The way I see it is that you can't evaluate something from an education point of view until you have the protocols. And then once you have the protocols, you have to identify what the research abilities are. And then, only then can you start evaluating things. And I think the program director was very happy with the reports we made. I think we've made great progress, and we've got a lot of data, which is now ready for publication. So I understand when the reviewers say this is a mature project, how come aren't they asking for a larger grant? Which you might recall, Paul, I actually raised that with you when we were starting to write this latest one. I said, aren't we going for the larger grant? So it's just a thought. I mean, there are pros and cons of staying with very little money or moving to a bigger, broader one, which will allow project members to start disseminating more widely, will allow for larger quantitative studies. I think there's something to be said for both types. But the thought I had was that the decision to make the shorter grant was purely because of lack of education, evaluation. So I just thought I would raise that and find out what people think of that.
Can I respond briefly? So I think, Trevor, I'm not sure it's really like collecting assessment data and all that. I think for me, what I realized teaching this course for the first time now is we haven't figured out how to actually teach this to scale. And I think that's what, like for me, that's the big question for the next couple of years. I feel like, pulled it off with 2 groups of 8. But for our institution to kind of keep propagating, I need to be able to teach 2 groups of 16, which is 32 students. And right now, I just don't see like the actual how to implement it. Like we have good ideas, right? We have, like you've done a lot of the assessment evaluation and kind of gathering information, but I think we're still, where I see a problem is how do you implement it on a scale? That's where I see the biggest sort of thing, the challenge for us on this next small grant before we go larger scale with other institutions.
I would tend to agree with Anya. I mean, one of our concerns was about, we have much more data now, and you're ready to write those papers now, Trevor and Stefan, but we didn't have those data when we put the proposal together. When did we write it? In November of 2016? I don't remember exactly what the date was on it, but we weren't ready. My conversation with Tom Higgins, it was very clear to me that he thought we would have a good chance in the smaller grant, but that we would not have a good chance at all in the larger one.
I think the reviewers and the program director are spelling out loud and clear that they think this is a mature grant. I think a huge amount has been done by everybody in this grant, and I think what are the next steps? The next steps is to develop it further and disseminate it, which is what fits a larger type of grant.
Trevor, are you proposing that I approach the program officer and suggest that they just fund us in the other plan and increase the funding? I've never heard of somebody doing that.
I have, yeah. But I just thought that it would be worth raising again, Paul, because by the sounds of the thing, that the sole decision to go for the smaller grant was about people's feeling that there wasn't enough educational data. And what I've tried to explain is that you can't get educational evaluation before you've got something to evaluate. And so I think the project's gone along extremely well in every area. And I just think that their report is saying seriously consider this, right? That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying what we should or shouldn't do.
Okay.
There are pros and cons for both sides. But I just thought that since the report said that we should seriously consider this option, to dispense with the option just purely because some people thought that we didn't have enough evaluation data yet, I think that would be part of the expansion of the project to go into that.
Right.
I would suggest that you pursue both tracks at the same time. It would be a shame to throw away this funding when it's available. There's absolutely no reason not to look at the next cycle and see whether there is enough to flesh out a larger grant before this one's even over. There's nothing wrong with that. If the program officer were willing to entertain it before this one is done, nothing lost. But if you simply fail to respond to what he's asking us to do right now, which is within 2 weeks, provide the answers to the following questions, then we're giving up this funding with no assurance of other funding.
Sorry, Herbert, I can only disagree with you. I wasn't for a moment saying we must not respond to this. Just part of the response, they want us to address why are we not applying for a larger one when the reviewers thought that we were ready. So they judged us as ready. So I'm not for a moment saying let's throw away this money. I'm just saying they want probably a more comprehensive response than just the reason why we didn't go for a larger one was because we didn't think we had enough education data. I mean,
but that's not our position. That's not why we did this, Trevor. The reason we did this, the number one reason we did this was because the program officer said we wouldn't get funded in the development and implementation track. He had seen our annual report from the first year, and I updated him on the other things we've done, and he said we would not be competitive in that track. Now, the fact is that if they had funded us for 3 years initially instead of 2 years, then we might have been able to do something. And we may be able to write back and say, well, what we'd like to do is, the original proposal for this funding is for a 3-year period. We'd like to make it for 2 years so we can be more intensive in our efforts, and then apply for a development and implementation award, starting maybe file one of those by the end of. I think they're due in January or February. So maybe in February of 2018 we would submit for one of those. So we've got some options. I'll write these things out, and the document we really kind of need to wrap up here. But the document will be posted on Google Docs, and everybody's input is very, very welcome on this document. This isn't my document. This is our document. I mean, I'll get it started, but everybody's input is more than welcome. Okay.
Paul, are you going to send us the link to so I was looking, where am I supposed to add that paragraph about dissemination and stuff?
Right.
I'm not sure where, right? So you're going to send us some kind of link.
I can send you the link, but the email I sent out with a list of things we need to do, I sent it out probably 2 or 3 hours ago. If you look in there, it shows the folder structure. So the folder that this is in, that these documents are in, is in our folder structure on 05 grant, and then under there 2016 proposal, and then under there, the folder called award process, and it's right here.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to get the shareable link and put that in. I'll get the link and I'll post it in the chat. So give me just a minute to do that.
Thanks, everybody. I got a next class, so I'm gonna
Bye-bye.
get out. Bye.
Yep. So this is in the chat window. So there's the link for the first Google Doc, the one about the response, and the link for the other Google Doc. All right. So I will see everybody hopefully next Friday at 2 o'clock Eastern time. And in the meantime, there should be some documents for you to work on. There are documents for you to work on right now, but there should be an updated title and abstract to look at by next Wednesday afternoon. Bye now.
Paul,
Bye-bye.
do we need to do anything else for our, because I didn't get you my comments on the REU supplement award. I didn't get you those until late last night. Are we on track to get that submitted today or Monday? Because I know that was our kind of original goal.
It's going to have to be Monday because I need to get your comments in there. I haven't had a chance to do that yet. I'll do that this weekend, and I will talk to Maria, and we'll see if we can get this in on Monday. Okay?
Okay, I just want to make sure you weren't waiting on other stuff from us.
No, I'm not at this point, and I will tell you that I did reserve 8 rooms at a hotel next to the campus for that time period. So if we get funded, great. If we don't get funded, I better remember to cancel it, or else I'll get to pay for 8 rooms for one night. So
Okay.
cover that one. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Paul.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.